You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. till noon every Sunday. And I'm your host, Angela Smorito. And in studio with me, we have Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Hello, hello.
Mm-hmm. She is our co-host and our videographer. And if you go to baadradio.com, you can see some previous episodes of the show. But if you go to our YouTube channel, which is BaaD Radio as well, you can see all the videos from all the previous episodes. And if you go to strikingbrand.com, you can see Melissa's other work, because in addition to being a videographer, she is also a photographer. Before we jump into everything, I would like to thank our sponsor, Ground Up Property Services. Florida heat is here, so now's the time to get your irrigation system serviced by Ground Up Property Services. Don't wait for your grass to be dying or dead. Call today at 407-468-4295 or visit groundupinc.net. So our guest today is attorney Aaron Hines with Hines Law.
Hey,
and
nice
Aaron,
to be back.
Yes, Aaron's been on the show before, and we were talking before the show started about when that was, and we couldn't figure it out. Do you remember, Melissa?
I don't remember. Oh, I have the worst memory. I don't remember what I ate yesterday.
Well, what I was saying is, like, you know what's going to be funny is, like, it's going to pop up on my social media memories of
a year
and
later.
I was like, I have a feeling that we're going to, like just somehow hit our annual time. It's one of those things that's going to happen. So how have things been going with Hines Law?
It's going very well. Just can't believe it's already halfway through the year.
Is it?
Yeah.
I know.
What's today's date? I don't
Two
even
more
know.
months and we have
something.
pumpkin spice lattes.
Oh, yes.
Right?
No.
I'm down with that. I love the fall. That's my favorite.
Same.
So the last time we were here, like I said, we were talking about it, is that we talked a lot about some of the law changes, but today we're really going to focus just on personal injury. And is that really where your firm has been going? Like, just really that's your hyper-focus
Yes,
now?
right now I would say that's 95% of what we're doing or more. And it's just, it's becoming a real issue here in Central Florida with the amount of people moving in, the amount of cars on the highways. It's a problem.
Yeah. So with your firm, I mean, do you do just auto accidents or do you do other slip and falls and things like that?
Yeah, so we do handle slip and fall premises type cases. Those are, a little bit more difficult to pursue. So the bread and butter really of what we handle are auto accidents.
Right. Well, there's plenty of them happening. I don't know about where you guys live, but I'm in Winter Springs.
I already
and
know what you're going to say.
It's just 434. All that stuff has just become a nightmare. And all they're doing is bringing in more development and more housing. And some poor lady died like a couple weeks ago on 434.
Wow.
This lady blew through it, drunk as a skunk
saw
at
that
10
video.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I did see the news reports about that.
Yeah, so what I heard is that they're they're reducing the speed limit on the road on 434. So who knows if that helps or if that makes it worse.
Yeah,
I don't know.
mean, I live very close to the studios, and I passed an auto accident coming here.
Did you? I did too.
A couple miles.
I wonder if it was the same one, but
Oh my gosh.
so. Question in regards to auto accidents: is the primary cause for auto accidents speeding, or is it just a whole bunch of different things?
Oh, I bet phones have a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think of like my cases that I have right now. Speed is definitely a factor and distraction. So it could be phone, it could be, everybody is sort of tuned out, right? These days when they're on the road, they're just, people have a lot of things on their mind. We have busy schedules.
Well, one thing I noticed too and I feel like it's getting worse in Florida, because when we were over in Scotland and you didn't see it, you didn't see people driving with like a hamburger in one hand and their iPhone in their other, but their laws are a lot more strict. And when it comes to what they call it, distracted driving, is that a thing?
Yes.
So
yeah.
okay.
So, and that, that becomes in the personal injury world, that becomes a part of building your case. If you are injured in the accident, that's where someone like myself steps in to be able to gather those facts. So for example, like if there's camera, video evidence of the accident, you'll be able to potentially see if the guy was on a cell phone, was he eating the Big Mac? It becomes important. And that's something, we'll talk about a little bit later.
Okay. Well, I like that.
Yeah.
I always like having like an agenda.
I know he's in looking at his notes.
He's got notes. I do like it though.
Came prepared.
Okay. Well, let's like I said, let's just like go ahead and jump into it.
Yeah.
So what's been going on? You said that there's been some law changes.
Yes. So last year, and this was, I guess this does bring back a memory of being here. Last year, the law did change. They call it tort reform, where they changed the law to it's supposed to help the insurance industry.
Why?
Really?
Why
To-
not help people?
To lower the amount of claims, they say, to cut down costs for the consumers. In my opinion, it's the opposite effect. I think that unfortunately there's a lot of politics involved last year.
A lot of politics.
Yeah, so it is what it is. We have to deal with it now, right?
Mhm.
So
So what does tort mean? I don't know
yes,
what that
it
word
torts the
means.
wrongdoing to another person. So the negligent act that
Okay.
causes an injury to someone else.
Okay. So if I were to hit you in my car, the tort would be towards me.
Correct. Or
Okay.
even like defamation. A lot of people don't realize defamation's a tort action. So an injury injury to someone else by someone, right? So that's what we're dealing with. Tort reform. Yeah, you can look up. There are groups that, like, I belong to to several groups that advocate for better laws that are pro consumer, right? So
Right.
those are individuals that I represent, which are individuals, consumers,
Right.
that they're buying the insurance, right? But unfortunately, in Tallahassee, they don't always make laws that are truly helpful to the consumer.
Right. Well, what I want to understand is, so they're in theory, what it's supposed to do is they're making they're making it harder to file a claim, right?
Correct.
And so they're trying to make it seem so less claims get filed, and so that means that our insurance is supposedly going to go down.
Correct.
If that's not happening.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing on the day-to-day handling of these kind of cases is it actually causes more litigation.
Which
Like-
increase costs.
Yeah, which increase costs. So, for example, on my cases that I take on, there are some cases that would normally get resolved, what we call a pre-suit resolution, that unfortunately, due to the stubbornness of the insurance carrier on the other side, hanging on to these new legal arguments that they have, are just pushing back a lot harder, and we have to file a lawsuit.
Right.
Which maybe a year, 2 years ago, a couple years ago, that wouldn't be the case for that.
it would be
exact fact
settled and
pattern.
everybody could be moved on with their lives.
Correct.
But now, like I said, the insurance companies have more power.
Yes.
And with that more power, then the regular people like us just end up on the short end of the stick.
Yeah, and the big goal is to wear them down, right? They want to make it drag out a little bit longer than normal, so the consumer, the individual that got injured, says, "Okay, Uncle, I give up. Let's just
Get rid
take
of
what
it,
we
be
can."
done with it. Yeah.
And so that's why you need someone to really be in it for the long haul and
Mhm.
fight for what they deserve.
Well, I'm trying to remember what that law was. But isn't it to where they made a law that where like your fees are no longer covered? Like so if I hire you and they're dragging it out, and so your hours are going. Oh wait, no, you don't get paid by the hour on that, do you?
Yeah, so something we also meant that we had discussed last time I was on was property insurance, right? So property insurance claims, and that was huge in Florida as well because they got rid of automatic attorney's fees if you prevailed.
That was
So
on
if-
house, not on auto.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so there is a change with the auto attorney's fees as well, but in Florida, what made a huge difference was on the home insurance claims.
Oh,
So
okay.
the attorneys handling home insurance claims like a hail damage, hurricane,
Right.
there's no longer an automatic attorney fee if you prevail. So that's had a huge ripple effect on whether attorneys can help you. If the insurance is fighting you on because you had hail damage and you have roof leaks, you have all this ensuing loss. That's had a huge impact on those cases.
So basically, before it was like if you won that case, then they would pay your fees separate from the amount
Correct.
that the people were awarded.
Exactly.
But now it's like you have to pay the fees out of what if you were awarded.
Correct.
All right, hold that thought, you guys, because we're gonna go to break. I got lost there, so everybody stay tuned for more BaaD Radio coming up.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. Summer is here, and so it's a time for a trip to Premier Couple Superstore. They have a huge selection of lingerie, shoes, toys, games, love oils, and a ton of great gifts. 5009 South OBT, or shop online at premiercouples.net, because a couple that plays together stays together. And we are talking with attorney Aaron Hines with Hines Law. And before break, we were discussing homeowners insurance and claims, and how insurance fees are not allowed to be covered anymore.
How the payment structure changed.
Right. And so that's a done deal for homeowners claims.
Correct.
And so, but for personal injury, that is not the case.
Yeah. So for a negligence action with personal injury, a few things have changed. So, for example, there's something called bad faith. So if we can prove that your carrier, meaning your own insurance or potentially the third-party insurance, had bad faith claims handling or handling of the case, then you can get punitive damages eventually.
Right.
And we don't have enough time to go into the
That's okay.
the details. It can get complicated. But typically where we can pursue attorney's fees on a negligence case, an auto accident case, is through what's called a proposal for settlement. So it's a statutory option that we have where a party can propose a settlement in the litigation. And if the other side doesn't accept it and it meets a certain, and then the numbers match up according to the statute as far as what you offered and what you finally got a judgment on, we could be awarded attorney's fees on top of your damages.
Right.
And so that's where it's very important to, even pre-suit to really understand the value of your case and what you think you can arrive at in an eventual judgment.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because you're talking about how they drag it out. I'm just wondering if they try to drag it out into where that person that was that was injured is just like, I can't afford to go on with this anymore because the attorney's fees are, that's what I was wondering, is if they were just doing that as a tactic for them to say, I give up because I'm just digging a hole.
They're racking it up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So from my perspective, as plaintiff counsel, what I see are people that are truly still suffering. They're still treating with their medical providers. And, it's a year, 2 years in litigation. They're going through depositions. They're going in front of medical doctors for exams.
And do they have to pay out of pocket for that until the settlement happens?
So it depends on what structure. So it depends on what health insurance they have. It depends on if they've used up all their PIP benefits, which means personal injury protection.
Right. I want to talk about that a little bit too.
Yes, and that's the weird Florida animal and how our auto insurance works. We have PIP. Not too many states have that. So it really depends on that individual's particulars. If they have health insurance. I have one client that has paid out of pocket a lot of money because he chose a certain provider that he wanted to use. But we're still in litigation, so he's out of money right now. It just depends on
It sounds so stressful. So let's talk about insurance, because that really is what all of this is about, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, I know that insurance companies are intimidating, and I think that they are intimidating on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
They make it difficult for you to do anything, even from making a phone call. It's like you get caught in that phone messaging service, and it's like, hit one for this, and it's 2 hours of your day that's gone just to do something simple. But I think a lot of people are scared of filing a claim because they're scared their insurance is going to go up. Is that actually what happens?
Oh yeah. So I have.
It's like, oh yeah.
So I should say, oh yeah, as meaning a lot of people are afraid of that.
Right. I am.
Yeah. So I can't tell you how many times I've heard within the last several months people saying, I know someone's in an auto accident. I think they're having some back pain or whatever, but they're trying to quickly get their car resolved, and they don't want to do anything because they're afraid their rates are going to go up, right? Or they don't want to make any claim because they're afraid their rates are going up, and they are going up in Florida. It's a huge crisis right now. I just made my 6-month premium this week, and I'm just thinking back to 2010. How much I paid, and it's pretty much tripled.
Wait till your daughters, right? Wait till your daughters
I
are
have
driving.
a son and daughter.
Oh, do you?
So the son's older, so that's going to hit me first.
Mine's reverse. I mean, like I told you, we pay $900 a month for 4 drivers. 2 of them are teenagers, though, so that's a big deal.
Yes, and it also becomes a problem where I'm thinking of a few clients right now. Their car was totaled in the accident, right? And so they have to take the small cash that you get from it, right? Because you only get paid actual cash value of your property. You don't get paid replacement costs. A lot of people don't realize that. And by the way, I am a type of personal injury attorney where I help my clients with the property damage. I don't take a fee out of that. That's
what do you mean? You help them get a new car?
Well, so a lot of times you'll see, especially here in Florida, personal injury attorney will not help with the car situation, the property damage.
Why?
So it's
they
don't get paid through it, right? So I do assist my clients with that. I make sure it gets set up from the beginning, right? If you don't have a replacement car, how are you supposed to go drive to the chiropractor or to the hospital?
So you set them with like a new car, or just like a rental?
Well, no, I help
rental?
them with the process.
Okay.
So it's very intimidating. Like you said, you got to go through all kinds of prompts. You got to go to the repair shop, work with adjusters.
It is scary.
So I help with that because it's, you can't function in Central Florida without a car.
No, no, it's not a walking town for sure.
Yes. So
well, that's really nice. That's something I would definitely hang my hat on.
Exactly. Sure. And I enjoy that part as well. But going back to the rates going up, like I said, I have so many people calling that they're very hesitant because they're afraid, hey, if I make this claim, even though my neck's killing me right now, but I'm thinking I'm just going to do nothing because I don't want to pay a couple $100 more a month. My big question is, besides the minimal protection being required in Florida, like, then why are you paying these huge premiums?
Right.
Right? So that's something I did want to talk about. What does the law say in Florida with insurance rates correlating to making a claim?
Well, let's talk about it. So are there laws that protect people from the rates not going up if they file a claim? Because it seems like there should be.
Yeah. So, for our listeners, they can look it up. Florida statute 626.9541 is the statute that you can look at. But it essentially says insurance companies in Florida cannot increase a premium, like a liability premium, just because they've sought personal injury protection payments, medical payments, or
that they use their
claim.
Insurance that they're paying
Correct.
for.
Now there are a lot of exceptions, right?
Okay.
And so
Here
this
we go.
this is an attorney answer. But there are exceptions to the general rule. So that's the general rule. The general rule is no, they can't increase your rate just because you used your insurance. But there are exceptions if your insurance company finds in good faith that you are responsible for the accident, you are at fault, then they can use that.
That makes sense.
Rate,
if you cause an accident, that makes sense. But if you're hit and you're hurt and you need to file a claim, you shouldn't be penalized for it.
Correct. And there are a lot of other factors, unfortunately. And that's where I can't give the answer on, okay, if just because you make I can say, hey, general rule, just because you make a claim, they're not going to raise your rate. There are a lot of other exceptions that they've been given. And that's where from my perspective, you may not ever be able to truly tell what was the reason your rate went up.
Right. Well, I think there was the question too, is like, is if you get hit and it's not your fault, and people worry about using their PIP because they weren't at fault. They're like, well, I don't want to have to use mine. But that's what the PIP is there for, is to protect you. And I think that's what people are like, no, I don't want to use it because my rates. But that's not. I mean, if you exercise your right for your PIP, is that going to hurt you?
Well,
and now I'm looking at the clock too.
The general rule, no.
Okay.
Right, and that goes back to PIP. So a lot of people don't realize if you're in an accident and you are injured, you have to use your own insurance. And a lot of times they say, no, I want to make a claim, but I only want to go through the other driver's insurance.
Right, that's what I'm talking
Unfortunately, that's not how it works in Florida. So for medical payments through PIP, personal injury protection, you have to use your own insurance.
Right. Well, we're going to continue this conversation, but right now we're going to run to break. So you guys stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to have more BaaD Radio.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Frogger's Grill and Bar. Looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones? Then you're looking for Frogger's Grill and Bar. And don't miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. With four great locations, there is bound to be one near you: Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's, hopping with food and fun.
Yeah, boy.
All right, love it. Okay, so we're talking with attorney Aaron Hines with Hines Law, and so right before break we were talking about insurance companies and filing a claim, and whether or not they legally can raise your rates because of it. So technically, not really, but it sounds like there's a whole lot of loopholes.
Yes,
so that's what I'm gonna call these, is loopholes.
Yeah, they've been given a lot of exceptions, and so one of those that I did want to mention are good driver discounts. So even though, let's say the scenario, you're not at fault, you treat with the provider because you're injured through your PIP, your personal injury protection. Yeah, by law, that alone, they can't raise your rate. But you may have had what's called like a no accident discount that helped bring your premium down. Well, unfortunately, you had an accident, right? So that discount may disappear, and that may actually cause your rate to go up.
And it doesn't matter if it's not your fault.
Correct. So that's where, and it depends on each insurance company has their own types of discounts. But that's just an example of, okay, just because you made the claim doesn't mean your rate went up.
But they got you another way.
Exactly.
Is that something you can fight?
As far as that all comes down to the policy. So whatever that discount and how that company sets up that discount, I guess you could if you dug into that with your carrier. I don't know the cause of action that you'd have. But
it just seems crazy because if it's like a good driver and it's not your fault, it's like, why are you taking that away?
right?
It's still not my fault.
Yeah,
I'm still a good driver.
So that's where that's where a lot of these discounts is straight up accidents, right? It doesn't the good driver discount typically means you're not in an accident. So if you had a clean driving record, that's where you usually get that kind of, meaning no accidents at all. Typically, you'll see that kind of a discount. That's just one example.
Well, they have all sorts of different discounts now that they offer. Like I was telling you, we have a mileage one where it's like as long as we our insurance is less as long as we don't drive above that mileage, and we do have trackers on our car though. It's like it's like a little pager thing that just tracks it.
Yes.
So you're like, no.
Yeah. So I mean, I just personally don't really care for there being a monitoring device on my personal vehicle. I just, like I said, maybe
Feels icky.
It's a liberty question for me, but I'd rather pay more.
But you said that you heard that they were like sharing information with manufacturers.
Yeah, so there are a lot of news reports that anyone can go look at, where a lot of these modern cars, which are almost completely
they can shut it down with a satellite. Some of those, so don't try to rob a bank with them, okay? Because you're not going far.
So a lot of these cars are full of really cool technology, but that stuff reports back to the manufacturers.
Right.
The manufacturers set this up. They want to see how the cars are operating, right? So there are news reports that these manufacturers are making some of this information public through LexisNexis and other groups, and the insurance carriers can actually go in, purchase that information. So they can get it even without you knowing.
Wow.
And it's, obviously depends on the car, the year, the model, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But it's something that's being reported, and, it's raising concerns with consumer privacy.
Right.
issues.
Now that is icky right there. Yep. But I mean, all the other stuff, like they say our phone's listening and all the other things. I'm like, I don't care. I don't say anything. I'm not.
That's the same thing, though.
I know. I don't do anything interesting enough for me to care if somebody's listening to me.
I hear you.
It's mostly for sales. So
yeah, it's the same thing though when you buy something or you're on any sites and then they sell your information. I mean, everybody's just trying to get more clients.
I'm telling you, you know what you can actually do now? You can actually purchase active listening and place your media plan on it. You can buy the information that your phones and everything pick up. And
That's scary.
Yes. Wait. You're buying back the things that you're doing and keeping it from them?
So everybody's talking and your phone's listening, right? And all that information, things you're saying, keywords go into a database. And so
it can potentially get sold.
It is being sold. I can name 5 companies right now that are buying it, which is really funny. But that's the thing. So you can actually buy active listening data and place your media plans based off of it.
Wow.
Creepy, huh?
So I think
it's almost like they're going to sell you something before you know you need to buy it.
Yeah, no. So I think the difference here is, especially, we're going back down to this Florida problem with high insurance rates. Okay, we don't, like, we're talking about our phones, listening and things. Okay, we don't care, right? It doesn't affect our pocketbook. But this kind of stuff, oh, man, it could affect our pocketbook.
Right.
Our insurance rates may go up based on data that's being taken from us.
Or they take away, like you said, things that help keep your policy down.
Yes.
Now, as an attorney, with all these different like things that are part of a policy, how important is each individual policy when you're working a case or whatever you call it?
Yeah. So the big part of the policy that comes into play for an auto accident situation are the coverages, right? So PIP is the required insurance.
That's
in
10
Florida.
grand.
It's 10 grand for medical. Covers some other things too, like towards lost wages and things like that. But that's mandatory. That's everybody is required if they own a car to have that. The other important parts of a policy are: do you have bodily injury coverage, which covers other people?
You're not required to have that, though.
You're not required to have it.
What is Florida's bottom of the line?
So
in order to drive, you have to have this and this.
Yeah, and this is where a lot of people, it gets confusing. People say, I have full coverage. Well, in Florida, full coverage is really not full coverage.
Right.
It's the minimal coverage, which is personal injury protection and property damage.
Okay.
Which protects property that you damage in an accident.
But it doesn't hurt
and
the
your
person.
Own. Correct.
Oh.
So you don't have to carry anything to cover damages to another person apart from their property damage.
Okay, so if there's nobody to sue, how are you going to get money from what are you going to do if you get hit with somebody that doesn't have personal injury?
The bodily injury coverage. That's what it's called. If that happens all the time. So you got to hope you paid for it. And this goes to what I was going to talk about, uninsured motorist coverage.
All right, let's talk about it.
Yes. So it's very important here in Florida that you carry uninsured motorist coverage because of what we just talked about. Full coverage in Florida doesn't require bodily injury coverage. Bodily injury coverage is where you are the bad driver, you injure someone else, you have insurance policy coverage that will pay for their medical bills.
Right.
Right. So you're not required to pay for that in Florida or to have it. So that's why uninsured motorists is very important because there's so many drivers in Florida that don't have that.
That
coverage.
are just driving around with the bare minimum.
Correct. And so I have had to turn down so many people as a client when they call. They say, hey, the other driver didn't have bodily injury. I wanted to pay for uninsured motorist coverage, but the rates are so high, I didn't. I have to say, I'm sorry. You can use your personal injury protection to treat, but
you don't
unfortunately,
have a
I can't
case.
pursue anything.
Right. Because there's nobody that's can held liable for it. Not liable, but you know what I mean? There's no money to go after.
Correct. So it's a very rare instance where you could potentially go after the individual. And typically the person that has bad insurance doesn't have assets.
Right. No, you're right. So question, so I get hit, the person doesn't have personal injury. I have it on mine. So then we have to fight with my insurance company.
Correct. So if you have that coverage called uninsured motorist coverage, then yeah, we have to deal with your insurance.
And then your rate's definitely going to go up. There's no doubt about that.
Well, so that's the same thing. So if you're not at fault, right, it goes back to the statute that we're talking about. If you're not at fault, just because you use your insurance doesn't mean they can raise your rate, but there's all these other exceptions.
Right.
And so that's what I wanted to sort of throw out there in the universe today is
I'm going to talk
just because you use it, no, they can't, but just be aware there are other reasons they can.
Right. So how many other more reasons are there?
There are quite a few.
Looks at the clock.
Yeah, so
he's got another whole page.
Looks at the clock and
It
checks
could
his
be,
notes.
We have another whole segment.
No, it could be the amount of accidents you've been involved in, the severity of the accident, if there's a death involved in the accident.
Oh, wow.
Those are other factors where they could say, okay, this is an opportunity where we could raise
the rate.
Yeah.
Right.
But the big one is fault and liability, right? So that's the big question mark.
Right. So can we talk about fault and liability a little bit more when we get back from
Yes.
break? Because I want to talk about what all that actually means.
Yep.
So, all right, you guys, stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to have more BaaD Radio.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. I'd also like to thank these additional sponsors for making BaaD Radio reality. Fear No Storm with boltslegal.com, Crazy Muscle Nutrition, Inbalance Bodywork, Forge IT Consulting, and Body Street in Winter Park. I love our sponsors. So we're here with attorney Aaron Hines with Hines Law. And before break, we were like, we're going to come back to fault and liability. So that's what I want to talk about. And these are the indicators of whether or not your premium can go up or down. The premiums never go down. Sorry, that was dumb.
That was wishful thinking.
So let's talk a little bit about that and how is that determined?
Yeah. So, fault, right? If you are found at fault for the accident, then yeah, that's a factor that they can consider to go ahead and raise your rate according to the law, the statute. And again, I would encourage everybody. Everyone likes to Google things. So if you look up this Florida statute that I mentioned,
Everybody
earlier,
loves Googling statutes.
Exactly. They like to be their own
They want to be able to
lawyer,
argue
right?
on social media.
Yeah.
So take a look at it. But there's a lot of legalese, of course, in the law. But yeah, that's it. In Florida, now the new law that went into place last year, if you're found to be 51% or more at fault, you get zero damages from the other side. So this is where fault, and that's why I want to talk about it today, because, being at fault could affect your rates, right, according to this exception, but it also has a huge factor in what we can do or argue in your personal injury case. And so that's where I wanted to talk about what are some ways that you can be proactive on proving you're not at fault, and one of those is dash cam.
Right. We got the kids' dash cams.
Yes. So aftermarket dash cams are very helpful. A lot of cars, like Tesla, for example, have cameras built into the car. And I can tell you right now, I've had several cases that have turned completely in favor of my client because of their Tesla videos.
Really?
Yes.
I have a friend, her son he got into an accident and he initially got ticketed and they got an attorney and he had a dash cam and it did the same thing. It turned the whole thing around.
Exactly. I can think of quite a few cases I have where dash cam has really changed.
Well, because they used to say that if you get hit from behind, then it's the guy, the person behind you's fault. If you get hit in the side, then they always had these for that, and that's just what you thought. You know what I mean? But that's not the case, right?
Yeah. So there are general rules, right? And so one of those could be like making a left-hand turn on where you're required to yield. Typically, if you're in an accident, there are different factors like that we have as a general rule, right? But if you have maybe you made a left-hand turn, but wow, your dash cam showed, hey, you still had the left-hand green arrow, right? But there's nothing to record. If there wasn't anything to record that, then it's the other guy's word against yours. And if there's no other witnesses, that becomes a huge fight, right? So that dash cam could prove critical for your case.
Do you have any recommendations on dash cams? Because we just got one off Amazon. Do you guys have dash cams?
No, but as you're talking about it, I'm like, that's a really good idea because my older daughter is driving now.
Yep. No, we got it for both the kids. But I went on Amazon. I did the whole, it's got a back one and a front one, and it records so much, and then you have to kind of delete it and start over again, kind of thing.
I would say, and I actually, my firm just gave away a dash cam actually at an event we held in Ocoee.
Nice.
We bought it off of Amazon, right? So I just it
had the best reviews.
Yeah, look at other consumer reviews of the dash cam. There are companies out there that install dash cams because a lot of them take wiring.
It was a little complicated. I'm not gonna lie. It was outside of my pay range. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. So I have no expertise or insights on how to install it or what brand, but just the general rule of having.
Is there any dash cam videos that's not accessible that they're like, this is not, or you know what I mean? They just like, sorry, we're not going to take this as evidence.
So that becomes a question of, sort of further down the line, maybe potentially at trial, where can you authenticate that was the video on that dash cam?
Wow.
That kind of a thing. It becomes a legal question. But yeah, the general rule and where I'm emphasizing it is really from the beginning of the claim, right? Because we're trying to show that you weren't at fault, right? So we can try to prevent this exception for the rate.
Right.
But most importantly, so you can pursue your claim and get damages from the other side. So that's where it's important.
Dash cam's big yes.
Yes,
Check mark.
but keep
Go
in
get it.
mind, for all of our listeners, that also means if you're at fault, it's on camera, right? So
Try not to think about that
it's
one.
a double-edged sword. It really is. But that's where if you are typically a safe driver, and you're operating within the law, dash cam is very helpful.
If you have dash cam, are you
Yep.
by law are you required to submit that if it's asked of you? If it's your camera and you were in the wrong,
Yeah,
you
so that
have-
becomes again in litigation a question of spoliation of evidence and
you gotta hurry up and delete it.
impeachment. Yeah, no. So let's
He
not,
says, no.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I said that, not Aaron. Okay?
exactly. The non-lawyer just said that. Let me
The
repeat.
non-lawyer, that's me.
Yeah, no. So that becomes, like I said, it's a double-edged sword, right? So, but with the concept of, hey, I want to be a safe driver. I follow the law, and I want to protect myself. That's a good situation to have a dash cam.
Yeah, no, I'm totally for them, and I want people to slow down and pay attention to what they're doing. I want them to get off their phones. We talk about this all the time at the Smirno household. Is like how bad the driving has gotten.
Oh yeah.
Low here,
Oh, yeah.
and I mean, do you have like any statistics on like the number of accidents like increasing, decrease? I mean, obviously it's increasing, but I mean, like, are you
Not?
getting
Yeah,
calls?
I don't have data right now. I do know, like, for example, we're one of the most dangerous cities in the U.S. for pedestrians being hit by cars.
Really?
Yes. And that number keeps going up.
Really?
Yes.
Who's
So-
gonna be walking out on
I'm
a
Well,
thinking Orlando.
Think
with
I
the-
drive. Think
Mhm, yeah.
all these
Tourists, people walking around.
exactly. Think of the more high
Yeah.
pedestrian
I could see
areas.
that.
So that's a number I'm very familiar with, just generally. But yeah, it continues to go up. I mean, obviously during the pandemic, we were one of the top states people were moving to, right?
I think it's still happening though. I think that I can't remember. We had a mortgage guy on here, and he said that it's just like we're getting flooded.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's another factor too. You're getting people from all kinds of driving experiences, Northeast, California, South America,
Yeah.
Britain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're getting all kinds of people that have different driving habits, different driving experiences, and it's turning into a melting pot of Florida.
It's really
Right?
scary. Do you recommend any certain carriers over others? I have State Farm. I've priced other ones out, but
Yeah, so I don't want to make a comment on that on the
Mhm.
live. If someone wants to reach out to me, I can give
Okay,
a
that's fair
direct
enough.
input. I will say within the personal injury world, like if you see a certain insurance carrier pop up, you can typically make a judgment call on, okay,
Really?
here they're going to be difficult to deal with,
Oh,
or
yeah, I
they
could
don't
see
have
that.
good coverage, or there's
Mhm.
those kind of things.
Mhm.
And yeah, we can.
So off the air, you'll give me this info.
maybe a cup
Yeah.
of coffee.
And then you guys have to
or-
call Attorney Aaron Hines to get this information.
Exactly.
Well, why don't you go ahead and give everybody all your contact information
so-
and like all your socials, everything.
Yep. So you can find me on all the socials at Hines Law PLLC. So Hines, Hines, LAW, P as in Peter, LLC. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads.
Are you on Threads?
Yes, I'm on Threads. And then also that's same for the website. So if you go there for the website. And if there's anything that piqued someone's interest, they can email me, Aaron at HinesLawPLLC.com, same handle. I'll be more than happy to chat about that or give them some insights.
This has been a great show. Like I said, all this information. I could talk about this for another whole hour. You know
Okay.
that, right?
Well, hey, I think I just need to book another
Let's
time to
do
come.
it. All right, Melissa.
All right. And you can find me at strikingbrand.com is my website, or email Melissa at strikingbrand.com.
And I'm Angela at BaaD Radio. And on Facebook, you can go to Business at a Distance, Central Florida Networking, or call 321-303-6424. Huge thank you to our sponsors, and thank you for tuning in. Have a great week, everyone.